Welcome to the Beyond Anxiety podcast, where we talk about dismantling mental health stigmas, mental health awareness through education, and strategies for overcoming mental health challenges. I'm your host, Darius Fennell, and I'm a mental health and therapy advocate, published author, speaker, and coach. I'm so glad you decided to tune in and listen, and I'm so excited to get into this next episode. Welcome, and please like, subscribe, follow, comment, and enjoy. And welcome back to another episode of the Beyond Anxiety podcast. I'm your host, Darius Fennell, and this is season 3. And with me, I'm so honored to have my guest on the show. His name is Marcus Lewis. A little bit about his background. He's a leadership speaker, an executive coach focused on emotional regulation. And to read a quote directly from his website, I help leaders and high performers gain emotional power to unlock clarity, courage, and true impact. Man, I love that. Please give a warm welcome to Marcus Lewis. Thank you for being on the show. And if you could tell us just a little bit more about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. So, yes, my name is Marcus CJ Lewis. Long story short, the man that you see today, I built him up. I mean, all of the work, years of therapy, I got coached. So that's how I ended up in coaching. And I'll jump into the backstory of how all of that formulated later on. But born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts. Went to school there in Massachusetts, and then my background is actually engineering. I'm not even in the in the mental health
Which
space. I just
which engineering discipline?
mechanical.
Okay, I'm electrical.
Okay. Oh, all right. Yeah. So
Sweet.
I actually started with electrical, and I got a C in the first class, and I flunked the second one. It's like, this ain't it. I switched to ME. I was like, it's not working. Give me an equation, I got it. The theory stuff with E, I was like,
Yeah,
it wasn't sinking in.
it's abstract. It's very abstract.
Yeah, very abstract. Yeah, and then I moved from Boston. I made my way further south, so I went to the New Jersey. Then I moved to Philly for 8 years, which is like a second home now at this point. And now I live in Washington D.C. And then I ended up getting into sales because engineering was just not it. I was like, I'm not doing this because I was working for a defense contractor, so I was working on like warship programs, and
Yeah,
I'm not into war. So I was
yeah,
like, let me get into let me sell the technology instead of designing it.
got you.
So I ended up getting into sales, and then I was like, I actually ended up volunteering for a year. And that's where I got into the people side. I was like, I belong in service for people. But I was like, what am I going to do with this degree? So I was like, well, let me get into sales. At least I'm on the people side now. But then I wanted something deeper. I was just like, let me go to therapy. I went into therapy, and then I was like, I want to help others feel good inside their bodies. So that's how I ended up here today.
Sweet. Good Lord, man. Like, just hearing you talk, I'm like, this brother's telling my story, man, because I used to work in defense as well. Yeah, and I got tired of that world, and then also like the stuff I do now is more people oriented and the more like services, like customer and client services areas. And
Yeah.
there's a tech piece to it, but at the same time, like I get to, talk with people and help them solve their problems. I'm pretty much our paths are like on parallels. You like engineering, defense, and wanting to get more into the people side. I'm like, good Lord, man, this is like my twin brother from another mother. I never
I know. That's so
got to meet.
crazy.
This
So
is
that's
awesome.
alignment. That's alignment. That
Yes.
is exactly where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now with being aligned, being intentional, all that stuff. You're very intentional with your podcast. When I first heard about it, I actually found out about it through I hired like a headhunter, maybe not a headhunter, but a headhunter for speakers.
Okay.
So she was to find me gigs and put me on a podcast. She ended up sending me yours, and it stuck when I read up about it. And I was like, oh yeah, I definitely got to reach out.
Very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. And like the thing came out. I know I'm like, have I met this brother before? Because I sent out like a blast of, requests out to different people, especially through the Black Speakers Network. That's one of the ones that I go through like,
Okay.
yeah, very frequently. So, and if you want to be on a podcast, that's another good place to go in, and people have like requests like I did all the time. So, You can go in there, and there's a wide variety of topics, including the stuff that we're involved in the mental health advocacy. So yeah, man. But
That might be where I saw it then, because
okay,
and for a second time, because I saw it, I'm in BSN. I'm
okay,
a member. So yeah, so I think I saw it there too. I was like,
gotcha.
yeah, I gotta get on there because it's I keep seeing the name.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Well, listen, I'm glad that you're here, man. And there's a number of topics and things to get into. One of the main things that just the tenets of like what also motivated me in the pre-show we talked about like how empathy, motivated me, stigmas, and how that has caused a lot of resistance in our culture, in our black culture, in
Yeah.
men culture, especially,
Yeah.
and where, man, the thought of asking for help, and with the pressure of having to appear strong and look strong while underneath, like, you just, as you stated, dysregulated, achievement on the outside, dysregulated on the inside. Could you talk a little more about how maybe you've experienced that as well as with your coaching and other stuff like that, or you've seen that in other people?
So I actually have a story where my mom, when I first, let me see. So when I was at the defense contractor, I'm gonna try my best not to drop these companies' names.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
When I was there, I mean, I was depressed. I was depressed all through high school, all through college, and in my first 3 years of my professional career. And I didn't know what it was, but I just knew something was off. I was like, I'm always tired. I want to sleep a lot. I don't want to engage. Had low self-esteem, wasn't feeling worthy. And it was interesting, like my mom's a nurse. And around 22, 23, I told her, I was like, I think I'm depressed. And she was like, depressed?
Yeah,
You're not depressed. I was like, she like, and I was like, yeah, I was trying to tell her, like, I've been depressed since like high school.
yeah,
And she said, "What?" And she like, she was so shocked. And I was like, mind you, she's a mental health advocate too herself. So I just thought it was so ironic, right? Like, I'm like, is it because I'm a man that she's not
maybe.
like as warm or receptive to it? But she ended up coming around. She ended up actually putting me onto my first psychiatrist, and then I ended up starting medication. But even like the lowest dose of medication, I broke out in hives. I had like, and then, oh, talk about arousal. That was out the window. I had no desire. But when I tell you, like, not interested at all, like that was actually why I got off the medication. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'd rather be depressed and horny than not,
Yeah,
than like stressed out, than happy and just dry, just flat, just ain't got nothing going on. So
no,
I got off the medication, and
yeah,
then I s- and then I was like, something's still off. I'm like, there got to be something else.
yeah,
So I quit the job because I was like, that was the biggest catalyst. I was like, I'm done. I checked out. I was coming in late to work. I was like, I'm out. We just part ways. So for a whole 2 years, that was when I volunteered. That was when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, what my purpose was. So I always had this hyper independence thing. So asking for help just wasn't second nature. That just wasn't, and I'm the oldest sibling.
yeah.
So that just
Oh,
wasn't, yeah, asking for
yeah,
help was kind of like you got to figure it out. You
yeah.
just do what you got to do. Then there's the whole provider and protector thing, which is exhausting, which is also something I'm dismantling in my work.
Mm,
That we're more than just providing; we are way more than that as men. And then I will never forget the time. So that was my mom. Then I will never forget the time I was like 27. Oh, then I started drugs. That was a whole other thing. We'll get into that later. But
no,
when I was 27, I remember crying in the shower, 27, 28, and because I felt like something was missing. I was like, I don't have a relationship with my father.
mm,
And I was like, I think I need to go to a therapist. And that was the moment when I started therapy. And I was in therapy for like 8 years. And then when it got into coaching and all this stuff, I think I had so much pain and suffering inside of me that I didn't have a choice but to ask for help. It wasn't like a proactive, I could just ask for help and somebody will do it because I just shared the story of what happened with my mom. I told her, and she kind of dismissed it in a way, like in a very like I think she was afraid that she may have missed it. And that's why she didn't acknowledge it then, like, just as a parent, like, she just didn't wanna feel like she was a great mom, like, so, I mean, she did phenomenal work. Look, I came out pretty good, but I was shocked at her response because she's in that space. That's why I was like, "What?" I was like, "No." She's like, "You seemed happy," which is another thing. I was high functioning depressed. I mean, like, go to work, showered, and every sports team, president of this club, achievement this, medals. That's why so I filtered all of my depression into my work. Like, you couldn't one thing you couldn't tell me is that I wasn't smart or that I didn't have good grades. If you could say anything else about me, but you couldn't say I wasn't smart. And that's where I put all of my work for years. So,
It comes to a point. I use this analogy in my book and everywhere else is at some point the bill comes due
yeah,
from running and
yeah,
like yourself, high achiever, the stuff I couldn't deal with, I used as motivation. And that was part of the reason why I was scared to give it up because I'm like, well, where do I get my edge from? If I lose all these things, like they were the things I was throwing in my furnace that just helped me to just burn and just shine bright. At some point you start to burn yourself. And it comes to a point where when that crisis mode kicks in and the MO that you use to deal with it is no longer working, it's like, okay, what do I do now?
yeah, yeah.
And that's what dragged me into therapy because the three main words I use for at least the stigmas that I've seen is people don't want to appear lazy, crazy, or weak. And I didn't
Mm,
want to appear like any three of those. So I'm like, well, like you said, I'll figure it out. And you know what? Give me 2 weeks. I'll put together a formula. Engineers, everything is solvable, right? You can model, mathematically model everything.
there's always a formula, there's
Right.
always a solution.
Yeah. Yeah.
Solve for the variable.
Yep. But this time it was like, dang. So I got the same variable on both sides of the equation. If that cancels out, then there's no equal sign here. There's nothing,
Yeah,
nothing to solve for.
exactly.
I can't start over. So yeah. Um, it's amazing how many people I run into. The other day I was watching somebody describe how you didn't need therapy. I don't know if you have any religious background, religious beliefs or anything like that, but he was basically saying that, well, if you have God, then why do you need, therapy? And I'm like, well, why can't you have both?
Yeah,
Why would you want to stigmatize? And I was so close to commenting on his page, but it was a snippet. And I learned a long time ago, be very careful with snippets because you don't have the full context.
yeah,
So I'm trying to find that the whole thing because I want to hear everything he has to say and make sure he wasn't quoting somebody else. Or sometimes people will do things for clickbait or for controversy, right? I wasn't sure, but I'm like, a lot of things can be true at the same time, right? And for one who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, the thought process was very binary, meaning it's either this or this. But I learned through therapy and coaching and everything else that you can have that grayness. Matter of fact, your healing and recovery is in that gray, you know?
yeah.
And sometimes the answer is maybe or I don't know.
Right,
And maybe the people that you needed to get healed from aren't here anymore, right? So
right,
there's no going back in time, right? And there's no solving something that really is just in you now. It's in you to do the work. So when you talk about like the different things that you feel in your body, right, versus the emotion and how you regulate one versus the other, give me some more information on that because I'm like, man, I love that. I love it.
and, like, just ha
They'll say
ask
you
the
have,
question again?
say you have anxiety, right? You're dealing with some type of like ruminating thought. You'd mentioned in your questionnaire about if you can regulate, it's a physiological issue along with the mental issue. And if you can solve one, it'll help the other.
I got you. I got you. Yeah. So first, I want to address the religion part. So
Sure.
my mom was a minister.
Okay.
So I grew up in the church, Pentecostal. Right. I listen. I know the church.
I didn't want to assume, but I was like,
I
let me
know. Yeah.
let him talk about it.
I know God. So now I'm more in the metaphysics, universal new age type believer, but Christianity is my foundation. So I may use those principles, but I'm not indoctrinated. I'm not into religion. It's not my thing, but I'm more so just all about like God being everything. So, and my work is actually very spiritual. It's a main focal point in my program because it's all about beliefs, your belief systems, that all that stuff ties in. So to answer your question, so there's the somatic piece, your body, and then there's your mind, and they're interconnected intellectually, right? So I'm trying to think of an example. Intellectually, I may know something is inappropriate. Maybe I've been betrayed. Maybe somebody said something to me that was disrespectful. And intellectually, I'm like, that wasn't okay for them to say. But then my body doesn't react. Like there's no anger, there's no emotional rise in it. That's how I know I'm regulated. That's when I'm like, oh, I've come a long way. Versus the other way around that, because now you at least have time to respond. Versus the other way around, if my body reacts first, I'm having to regulate. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. The first thing I know is when my heart starts racing. If
Uh,
my starts picking up paces, I'm like, oh, it's about to go down. And usually mine is anger. I respond with anger before anything else. So I be having to pull myself back because I used to be pop out Polly. I used to go all the way off. I mean, I would cut you down. And I'd cut you down so bad, I would feel bad. I'd be walking away like, damn, Marcus, did you go? You had
I
to go all the way
have
there.
to do that.
Was it that bad? I'm like, yeah, it was that bad. Anger and as men, we in particular, we usually express a lot of the things that we're going through, whether it's sadness, pain, hurt, we express it with anger. Even imposter syndrome, it comes out that way because it feels so one, it's a charge. So it feels powerful. It feels like it makes you want to do something about it. Um, so I worked on that, regulating that. And that gives me time for my mind to catch up to what's real, to what the lie might be, or the story that I'm telling myself, or whatever my belief system is telling me. That's where you got to get pause. You've got to pause right there. And because if you don't, the heart racing, now I'm cussing you out, and then you don't burn the bridge, or try to repair. It's a long road to repair after you cut somebody out that you love, that's still in your life, a family member or a loved one or a romantic partner. It's just like it's because they don't now they're walking on eggshells, so having to repair that is not worth it. So I was like, I gotta get this piece down, and coaching helped with that, so
When you say regulation, what does that look like? Or what type of tools would you do to say, you know what? Okay, I'm angry right now. All right, what do you do?
sure. So the first thing is ownership, which is more like a mental state. It's more like a mindset shift. You have got to own your feelings because anytime you're pointing, you're like, you made me mad. You did this. You can never own your emotions. You give all your emotions and the power to that person or the stimulus, whatever the catalyst is. Road rage, people cutting you in line, whatever it is. But those are your feelings because the next person standing next to you could have the same experience and it not even bother them. They don't even register that something they did, that something somebody else did would make them upset. So the first thing, before you do anything else, you have got to own your feelings. All right. So once you get past that, the actual tools are things like my favorite tool is breathing. And I know that we talk about that, but I feel like breathing seriously is an underestimated tool. It's free, it's accessible 100% of the time. It's around, and you can do it. I do it in meetings. 'Cause sometimes clients or customers say things, and I'm just like, and I'm having to regulate. Or and there's an infinite number of ways. that you can breathe. You can breathe slower. There's somatic touching. You can like tap, like you could like tap your fingers, tap your forehead, tap your chest, depending on where you're at. Maybe you want to tap under the table. Planting your feet in the ground is a really good one because I low key don't like that we have to wear shoes and sneakers and stuff because I wish we were still in touch with grass and the dirt because that naturally grounds our bodies. But hey, here we are. So, grounding your feet, like planting them firm into the ground, brings you back into your body. So, those are like my top three that I do by default, but there's an infinite number of tools. And you find the one that's best for you. Even if you visually zoom in and zoom out, like if I'm really activated, I could focus on just one thing. Like, for example, like this screen right in front of me, there's a red dot. I can just focus on that dot if I'm activated, even during this conversation. Or I can zoom out and look at everything in the room around me. That way, I'm back. I bring myself back to presence. And
Yes.
once you bring yourself back to presence, that's where the leadership is. That's where the courage is. That's where you get to be.
Yes.
Really, that's where you're at with God. God is
Yeah.
present. And if
Yes.
you want to stay present, just get back into your body. You'll be fine.
Man. Yes. I got to hit you with another one. That one is so powerful because sometimes it's not the question like what's going on with you. It's where are you right now in terms of time? You know what I mean? Did this thing trigger like a past memory that's triggering some type of, body response? Or are you anticipating something from the future that you pull that into the present moment and you're not even actually here? You know? Um, my therapist caught me a couple times where, and I thought I was so good at having this kind of poker face. Like, like you mentioned about having the dysregulation, but nobody else being able to notice it. But okay, she's a licensed therapist. So as she's talking to me, she just stopped. She said, "Where are you right now?" I was like, "What do you mean? Like, we're, we're here in the room. I'm talking to you." She said, "No, you're not." And I was like, I just dropped my head. I was
You
like,
got you, got you.
I'm so far gone. And so that was one of the first times I learned about doing a body scan along with breath work. So when you mentioned breath, I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, like that was probably when I was in a constant state of dysregulation. And honestly, I didn't even I thought all that breathing stuff was weird. I'm like, this ain't gonna do nothing. Like I'm breathing now. Like how is gonna patterns gonna and then I think the first time I tried 478, it made me dizzy, And
Yeah, yeah.
actually, yeah, it actually made me more dysregulated. So I was like, all right, that didn't work. And then a couple years later, I used 7-Eleven, and that one was like, magical. So I'm like, what the heck's going on here? So, you know, one of the things I've noticed is when you have your toolkit, understanding that as you are evolving, your toolkit is also going to
Yeah.
evolve. Because now I can do
Yes.
478 like nothing, you know. But 7, 6, 7 years ago was like, man, like, why are people like touting this thing so much, man? Like, I feel like I'm sucked in some helium right now.
I'm so glad that you said that breathing makes you dizzy at first. When you first start breathing tools,
Yeah.
like I was dizzy too. I was like, this is a full reset because
Right.
I'm about to black out. I done forgot. Like one time I breathed so heavy, I like it turned black. It started to like go out. And I was like, all right, I'm reset.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I was mad about. Now I can do it really good, like for
Yeah.
really long periods of time
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
feel fine. But yeah, you gotta build
Yeah.
you
You
gotta
gotta
build
build
up the
that.
breathing stamina.
I didn't have, I was like, all right, I'm going to do this for, I don't know how long I thought I was going to do it for, man. My body was like, yeah, player, we don't like this. So guess what? Activate the sympathetic nervous system and don't do
Right.
this again, doggo. We got something for you. You know,
Exactly.
what other tools can I use? Because that one didn't work. And I tell you one I stumbled upon that I want to start doing again, but it was difficult in the beginning. But I'd say after about the third time, I was like, you know what I mean? And that's cold showers.
Uh those work for you?
My gosh, yes.
I hate a cold shower.
I
I
hated it in
try
the beginning. Here's what it did for me. So I used to have these really bad panic attacks, right? Some of the worst feelings in the world in terms of especially like loss of control, your heartbeat going all over the place, feeling like you're in a dream world, tight chest, my freaking sinuses were tightening up. Man, I was like, dude, I'm going out. The first time I had, I was up to my wife, I was like, take me to the hospital. I'm thinking about, man, does she know where the insurance papers are? Man, did I get to do all I wanted to do with my kid? I'm having these end of life thoughts, right? That's how bad the panic attacks have been. However, the cold shower felt like a dojo because the response I had from the cold water felt just like the panic attack. But this time, if it gets too much, I can step out or I can change the temperature. What I started to do was turn it down really slow. I don't just put it on cold. Turn it down real slow and I slow down my breathing. And now, since I'm recreating the scenario that would normally drive me crazy, now I'm speaking out loud and saying, I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm worthy, I'm wise, I'm creative, I'm lovable, I'm this, I'm that. And guess what? My subconscious mind started listening to me. And so now it's like, okay, if that's the pattern, when these feelings happen, let's play the tape of what he does when this happens.
Right.
And so
Right.
guess what? Instead of ruminating on all the possible catastrophic worst case scenarios that could happen, it's, oh no, I'm worthy, I'm loved, I'm all this other stuff. And so now, instead of having the old response of, oh my God, I'm frazzling, I'm spiraling out of control, it's no, guess what? We can build safety in the midst of discomfort. And here's the distinction between what's uncomfortable versus what is dangerous. And once I made that separation, I'm like, it doesn't matter what I'm feeling at this moment. Now, there's a point where it's like you do have to recognize, okay, maybe I do need to go to the hospital, right? But I would say 95% of the time, it's just overactive nervous system. And now you need to figure out what particular tool. And here's one thing I want to ask you because you mentioned about the emotions, especially anxiety or anything else that's uncomfortable. And those are really just messengers, right? So talk to me about like the messenger and then the message behind the messenger and what possibly that could unfold.
Yeah, sure. So I actually want to share my anxiety story. It kind of ties into
Please.
this anyway. So when I had quit all them drugs, I've done just about every drug. I didn't like downers. So, but I like stimulants. I like uppers. So I'm 10 years, how many years out? This is year 10. Yeah. I'm 10 years out from my last hard drug. And the first 3, 4 months of withdrawal, I was having panic attacks. And I didn't know what anxiety, I didn't even know what anxiety was at the time. I really, honestly, I thought it was like a white girl thing. I didn't think it was something that, I was like, white girls get that. Like, and I'm a black man. I'm like, what? I was like, what are you panicking about? Like, I did not get it until it happened to me.
Right.
Now, like, oh, it feel like you about to die. Like
Yes.
that is just that's the best. I mean, my heart rate hit over 200, fingers tingling and numb, the blood flow, and then the numbness starts to climb
Yes.
up towards your core. So
Yes.
I'm like, oh shit, death is happening.
Yeah.
Oh, let
It's
me stop
over.
cussing. I cuss a lot. Let me not cuss. I was like, oh, death. I was like, it's coming. So I drove to every time I went to the same hospital, same ER. And I kid you not, this nurse, they done seen me so many times at this point. They knew
There you
who
go
I
again.
they're like, here go Mark. Here you go. And the panic market. If he ain't popping off, he's anxious. And I'm like, I'm dying. They admitted me, right? And the nurse, I swear, she sat back. She went just like this. And she just leaned against the wall. And I'm looking right now, really bad. Like, what is that? And do you know the anxiety went away? It just went away. The episode was done. I haven't had a panic attack since.
Wow.
And she looked at me and she was like, I think you just have anxiety. Mind you, it was a white girl that told me this, right? It was my white girl. She's like, you just have anxiety. And I was like, oh, the belief around anxiety is that there's a threat. There is impending doom, that
Yes.
it's just fear about what's about to come. So just like with any emotion, all subjects are the same subject. So for example, if I'll share a recent one. I was recently sad, like boo-hoo crying about a couple months ago because I had went out to an event. And dating can be really hard. So sometimes people will be animate flat with me, but animated with others. And I was noticing that, and I was like, why are people flat with me? You done been in my DMs, flirted a whole lot, but then I see you having whole conversations with other people. And I was like, so I'm the common denominator. So I was like, what's going on here? So I came home and I just cried. I had felt the emotion. Normally I would have watched something explicit, X-rated, and numbed it out. That's what I would have done in the past, but I'm 100 days out from doing that. So, and I was intentional about that. I was like, I got to feel this feeling because there's a memo here. There is a message. This is tied to a belief, and I don't know what the belief is. So cried, right? Cried, boo, ugly, cried, everything. And then I dried my tears. And then I sat up and I took a few deep breaths. And then I have been carrying one-sided relationships for too long. And I am done. I am going to now lead I'm open. I'm a natural leader. So I was like, I'm okay to lead relationships. I'm okay to open the door and invite people access into my life, but I will no longer carry you or pull you into the door. And I used to carry conversations, chase after people, call myself a hunter, being the person to always approach, always spit game, always got a line, always picking somebody up. And I got good game. But that's exhausting. Sometimes I want to be hunted too. Sometimes I want somebody to call, I want somebody to call me. So the memo was my worthiness was in the pursuit of others and not in the reception of others. And once I let that belief go, I don't carry relationships no more. I had a former best friend, that friendship ended a few
Mm,
months ago
mm.
because I was carrying it emotionally. And when I stopped carrying it emotionally, it fell apart. It couldn't even sustain the distance, right? Like, so, and even that, I mean, and I noticed that this was actually in all aspects of my life, even in business, even
Mm.
at work. I was like, oh, even with like customers. I'm like, if it's a one-sided customer relationship, I fired a few customers in the last few months. I'm like, this ain't healthy for me or you. Well, they were getting everything, but I'm like, this isn't healthy for me. This is not good business. I'm good. I even fired my life insurance person because that was a one-sided thing too. Because he would only reach out with like dangling carrots. He'd be like, "Oh, I'll put you in front of the TEDx, the TEDx person, making it kind of seem like if you get on a call with me." And I was like, "Okay, sign up for an insurance policy." He just gave me a name. And I'm like, no introduction, no like nothing. And he did. That was the second time he did something like that, and I was like, "You're clipped. Like I'm not carrying nothing no more." So that's what I mean by your emotions do not exist in a vacuum. They are attached to something. They're filtered through your belief system.
Yes.
So when you feel something, that's a memo about you personally. Anger is for you. Sadness is for you. Grief is for you. There's something about you that is giving you information. If you miss the memo, you're going to keep feeling that emotion. It's going to keep coming until you get the memo. But we're too busy numbing out, self-soothing, doing drugs, having sex, running around, partying, sleeping, doing whatever you're doing, watching TV, and you're not getting the memo. And then you're wondering well, for me, why I was popping off all the time
Yeah. Oh man.
or having panic attacks.
Yeah.
So
So
that's what I mean.
yeah, no, for me it was being labeled as the fixer, you know. And I still do that to a degree, but not to the point where I'm using it to define my worth and value, you know. And I remember my first therapist when I was just proudly telling her, yeah, at work they call me the fixer. She said, "You ready to let that go, bruh?"
Yeah.
And like I don't mean just like sniffle.
Yeah, you ugly cried.
That
You did
yeah,
the
broke, But that was to your point, the memo, man. And I didn't want to read it because it was easier to get so involved in other people's problems and come up. And to this day, I have great solutions for people because that's just a gift I have. But if you overuse that to try to compensate for emptiness or lack of worth that you feel within yourself, that lack of balance always leads to something unsustainable. And at
right.
some point, something breaks, something gets neglected, or one of the things I learned is your nervous system been trying to get your attention, And the more you don't listen, it turns the volume up to the point where now it's a full Mary J. Blige concert and you like 3 feet from the speaker. You gotta listen to it now, dog. You right here.
Right, right.
So, and that's what the panic attacks were. It's like, nah, you're not getting any more excuses. You're not gonna numb it out. You're not gonna busy it out. You're not gonna achievement it out. You're not gonna help everybody else in the world except yourself and figure out how to keep running from yourself. Nope, now you got to deal with me. And once physically I lost the ability to be able to move freely, it was just me in a silent room. And it was some of the hardest stuff because now all the conversations that were going on in my head that I was ignoring or just drowning out, now here they are. And that was why I needed therapy to help navigate all those things because I heard some guy, what do you say, y'all? You just need a bunch of guys that you can talk to. You don't need to go to therapy. I'm like, they're not trained.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, no.
Stop saying that, man. Your homeboy is not going to like either say it too harsh or without like a real sense of balance or even compassion, right?
Right.
And that's a very important part, right? If I feel like, and I can only say this because I realized how far off I was from it. But self compassion to me is the number one foundational thing needed in this journey. Not the only thing, but to me, if you don't have that, nothing else works. In my opinion, that's just my own experience and what I've seen in others. Because you can make the checklist, you can even use the tools and all the other stuff, but if you don't have that love on deep down on the inside, at some point, you're gonna overuse something. I feel like love is the anchor that keeps everything balanced because it's based on truth. And truth is always the thing that's going to bring you back to present and bring you back to yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, I like what you said about emotions. Like if you don't do emotions, emotions will do you. If you don't do vulnerability, vulnerability will do you. If you either gonna burn out, crash out, stuff, it's gonna get to a ceiling where it's just like, all right, I can't take it no more. I'm just gonna do the thing. Well, I feel like the tears, like the tears that you shed, it's like relief. It's because it's like your nervous system knew. It's like finally, we just wanted to be seen. The emotion is like that's all we wanted. Oh, and mind you, emotions, it's only 60 to 90 seconds and it passes on through. It's not a forever thing. They're temporary. It's information and it's energy. That's all that it is. But we feel these emotions and we make it into like this catastrophic life or death experience. It's like, oh my God, it's so much pain. It's just like, it's only 60 seconds, you know? So I love what you had said about that.
Yeah. Nah, it's amazing how I can articulate it now, but like the length of time it took me to like reach that point. It's like
But you know, you're here. And you know what's beautiful about this? Like we're having this conversation at least for my parents didn't have these resources or
oh,
access to, and that's why I give them
oh,
so much grace. Back to self-compassion,
yeah,
I give my parents self-compassion because I'm like, these men talk groups, like this is kind of new. It's like trending where I'm seeing more black men talking in circles. Now the content of what they're talking about is a whole nother conversation, but the fact that we're in groups and we're having these conversations, I think is beautiful. And we're breaking the generational behaviors and patterns that we have been trying to fight and come out of over the last 400 years. Like all of this stuff passes down. So we get to be the change for that. Like, you know, my siblings, when I have kids, they're going to be very different how they think. Like, right, all of this is going to be instilled in them at a very early age. I already know. I was like,
yeah,
when my child first come out, I'm like, at 5, I'm gonna be like, listen, you need to breathe. Like we're gonna
yeah,
talk about how to navigate these feelings and it's
yes,
okay to feel them. You know, it's
yeah,
because I wish I had the tools. I'm actually starting to think about speaking to more youth. Because I'm like, if I had the tools at the teenage years to navigate these, I was going off at work. Okay. When I tell I was pop off, I like I wish I had. And I it was a learned behavior because my mom did it. So I thought, and she only did it when to protect me. Like that was the only time I saw her use it. So in my head, I was like, oh, popping off is 100% okay because I'm just trying to protect myself. But I was going off of stuff that I just didn't like. So it turned into, it was turned into something else.
yeah. But it's yeah, so important, like you said, like being able to recognize those patterns and not passing those patterns down to, you know, the next generation. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, my parents were boomers. I'm Gen X. And so there were just a lot of things that just weren't you weren't really given space to kind of feel your feelings. It was like, hey, bro, we don't cry. No, figure it out. Let's go. You know? Like my dad said, crying don't fix nothing. Now I'm like, if I need to have me a good one, I find me a nice parking lot, put me on a nice song, man, and just let it out.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Let it out.
And now look at this. Crying gives us information. Right? Like it is a huge transformation. Like, don't cry, it's weak, to wait, I gotta get the memo. Hold on, I gotta go cry so I get this information. I can figure out what my beliefs are.
Yep. I ask the emotion. I'll say, hey, anxiety, what is it that you feel like it's either been neglected or what are you trying to get my attention about?
Right.
I just wait. Even if it's just 5, 10 minutes in silence,
Yeah.
just wait. And your body and your mind will tell you what that thing is. You
It
know?
will always tell you.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's on your side. I think people forget that too. It's like your brain is
Trying to always
it's not
protect.
on your side in some ways. When it comes to identity shifting and changing, changing behaviors, it's not. It's just trying to protect you. But when it comes to like keeping you safe, the brain is designed to do that. Your body too, like it wants to live, it wants to be here. So listen to it.
But yeah, if you're just always busy or doing a bunch of stuff or like, I don't want to, or stigmatize the emotions and make, oh, that's feminine or that's weak. And no, it's not, dog. It's some information in there that you need, and at some point, you keep ignoring it, the volume's going to get turned up, and you're not going to like what comes with the amps. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So you better take the treble and the little tweeter speakers up in the front and the dashboard. Better take those before we bring the subwoofers in here. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
you're not ready for this bass, dog.
Exactly.
Not fun, not fun. So, but yeah, man, it has been, and not to say that I've arrived, I have not, but it's been one big amazing journey going from one who bought into the lies of the stigma to now being like a major opponent of it and saying, nah, that's not true, and I'm gonna speak out about it. And it's great to meet folks like yourself who are doing the same thing and being that face so others can see others like themselves, right? And just really redefining what it is to be masculine. You know what I mean? Like some stuff was like that we were taught. That's not masculine, man. That's ego.
Yeah. Yes.
Toxic behavior. Those are toxic patterns. That doesn't define what a man is. Like let's eventually at some point that's either gonna put you in jail or break down your nervous system and you're gonna be
Mhm.
a shell of yourself. So
Mhm.
which one do you want?
Yep. Yeah.
Like you mentioned about us being more than just providers and protectors. It's like, but that's what the boomers taught me as a Gen Xer. That's what you're supposed to do, you know? But now I've had deep conversations with my brothers. I even had conversations with my dad and, just listen to what resources or lack of resources they had during that era, coming up in the 50s and 60s. Like, I'm like, man, how did you guys even survive that? It's a
Uh-huh.
totally different world than what it is now. I mean, we have our own set of problems now, but we were very limited during those times, you know? And, you add in the poverty aspect of it as well, like that brings in a whole level of other stress of where's my next meal gonna come from? And I'm supposed to go to school and be able to learn stuff, and I haven't eaten in 2 days. Like, come on, man, what are we talking about? But those are the types of things like when I hear my parents share stuff, or like more recently, I've been doing like a lot of genealogy stuff, and now not only do I understand how the branches fit into the tree, but like the stories behind them. I'm like, wow, this is why I'm the way I am, man. This wasn't me. This was 4 generations back.
Yeah.
You know? And so
Mhm.
hear some of the stories, or I've sat down and talked with different cousins and just hear their life story. I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm looking in a mirror, but I'm like, we didn't even grow up together. All these are people I'm just now learning, of their existence because, social media and all the new technology with the, DNA stuff. But like that's a tall order that I know because of where I am in life and the gifts that God has given me that I'm gonna have to be one of the pioneers to deal with that within the bloodline. Not easy, but I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also nervous because the more things I hear, I'm like, man, this is heavy, you know?
Yeah.
But it also helps me understand why the patterns exist. So it's not just the individual work, it's the generational work that has to be looked into as well, man. And oh my gosh, I'm excited, but at the same time, it's like, whew, deep.
This thing was, I want to touch on what you said about our parents is like, and how they made it. I mean, they were in survival mode. And transitioning from survival mode to thriving mode was probably one of the biggest identity shifts and one of the biggest things I had to let go of. And it was like little subtle things where like I don't shop for clothes and I have the money. And I was like, why don't I shop? What is it? And all my money was going to experiences because material things, being attached to things like objects, just wasn't a thing. Like, not only did, I mean, we grew up with enough, but and put spending money towards like material to me felt like a waste of money. And I'm like, well, if I can experience something like go on a trip or I love to eat out, go to dinner, something like that, like I would put all my money towards that. Even with like decorating my apartment, like this took me 2 years to do. And that's because I've always been on the move. Like one year I moved like 10 times in a year. So survival for me was like, I gotta be able to pick up and go. They can't be no like a whole bunch of stuff. Nah, minimal material. Let's go. If we gotta be out, we gotta be. So our parents like I feel like they just did. I'm just gonna speak for mine. Like they did such an amazing job of what they had.
Yes.
It impacted me. I still
Sure.
had some stuff I had to unlearn and undo.
Sure.
But when I tell you like I'm like, if I was in their shoes, I'd do the same thing. Just knowing what they know and what they're aware of, they really tried their best. But I like it's actually all of our ancestors, seriously, like the stuff that they dealt with and put up with for us to still be thriving the way that we are today. And I'm over here, I'm like, if they could do that, I'm like, Mark, you could feel some emotions for 60 seconds.
Right.
You could cry for 60 seconds to get the memo, right? Like,
Yeah. I like that. I like that. Get the memo. I'm gonna have to use that, man, because you know, sometimes I still find myself, I'm like, dude, you're running from these feelings that you don't want to feel right now, you
yeah,
know, because I mean, I play Tetris with my sons and just other video games, but sometimes it's like, dude, how long have you been on here? Are you avoiding? You
right.
know, and so it's like, all right, let me use the superpower of silence, right, and allow the voices to come, allow the body to speak, where I feel the different sensations, and then just asking those questions. One of the other things that I consider a non-negotiable, I don't know if this is something that you use, but journaling for me, especially in the beginning of the recovery process, was absolutely critical. And it's not just, writing, oh, I feel bad and da 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 da. One of the things I learned in the beginning, especially from my first therapist, was remember one day I came in, I was like, man, I didn't have a good week. She said, "Do you have your journal?" So yes. She's like, "Go back a few months. Just read anything there." I started reading.
Mhm.
I was like, man, okay. I took a few steps back, much further than what I was from what I was writing 3, 4 months ago. So I guess in my mind, because I didn't keep that straight linear path, which we know is not linear, it's not straight. It does a lot of this,
And that's
a lot of hills and valleys and, few setbacks and stuff, but it doesn't mean that all hope is lost and all the things that you learn have been obliterated and you have to start all over from scratch, right? But it felt like that. but now I have evidence here.
Yeah.
Ruminate and have whatever exaggerated things in my brain about how bad things are because of this setback, or I can go and look at the what I was writing at the time and say, you're not even close to what this is. And even in the event that you were, you can still have self compassion for yourself and say, you know what? But today you get to start again. So are you still breathing? Okay. Then you get to give it another go.
Yeah. Do you ever read your journal entries and are you ever like impressed with yourself?
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, man, that was deep.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Sometimes I read, I be like, I wrote that?
Yeah.
I was like,
Like I need to turn this into a song.
I had it all along. I
Right.
had it all along. And I'm over here
Yeah.
doubting myself in the moment.
Yes.
And I'm like, the me from 5 years ago got it, got the memo. And I'm like, get out of your head, dude. Like,
Yes. Yeah. Be a
and that
brain.
self-compassion, yes, that is key. Like, I actually call myself baby.
Okay.
Almost like I'm talking about myself like a lover.
Mhm.
Like, I'm like, baby, we don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, baby, what we gonna do today? I don't know, babe. I'm going. It's so lovey dovey, but it makes me feel like, it makes me feel good. So I talk to myself like that. I don't even very gentle, very soft. If I make a mistake, it's okay, and I don't beat myself up, and then I just choose again. But like you said, like that self compassion is foundational. I mean, if you're not warm to you, if you're gonna mess up, you're gonna make a mistake. It's inherent. It's a part of the journey. So as you learn, based off what you know today, once you do the upgrade, you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't actually that bad. Giving yourself self compassion is the best way so that you don't self betray, self abandon, leaving yourself hanging down the line or sabotage. Right?
Huge. It's like, oh, you don't deserve this. I'm gonna tear this up. But you know what was one of the most freeing things? I remember I just spilled all this stuff to my therapist. I was like, here's why the week was so bad. You know what she said to me? She said, so? I was like, you're not mad at me? Like all the work we've been doing, I told you how bad I messed up. She said, so what? And not to say that you just be sloppy and don't try to live with integrity or whatever, or just keep spiraling down. But it's like, dude, you have an opportunity to give it another go. It was a bad week. So what? Just like in sports, anything else that I did in life, it's like, did you ruminate on the bad game you had the night before or day before or a couple games before? It's like, no, like you took the learned lessons from it and said, you know what? Here's the adjustments that I can make. I'm not trying to fix myself or just, oh, well, you're so broken, you need to be. No, it's like, okay, what wisdom can you extract from whatever events happened, right? Sometimes it's simple as, you know what? You were a little dehydrated, right? Why don't you add a little bit more water to your regimen, right? I remember I could go maybe weeks and not remember the last time I just had plain water. I mean, juice, yeah, it's okay, but I mean, just like plain water, it's like, dude, like that has an effect on cortisol and everything else. You're drinking all these juices and your insulin is spiking up. Guess what spikes up as well? You know,
Yeah.
cortisol.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to learn all those different things as well to get in rhythm with how the body operates. Right. And I started with the sympathetic and parasympathetic. And then I got into a little bit more kind of natural stuff of, okay, instead of having to get stuff prescribed, like what are some other alternatives that usually have less side effects? Because I was telling somebody earlier today, I was like, usually if there's like a side effect listed on the box of something, I'm probably gonna experience it. It's just the way my body is built, you know. So I've tried to find like more natural things, you know. At one time, I even had an app that would monitor automatically how much water you're drinking because it knew as a sensor at the bottom of it that like knew how much water based on the weight. So it would calculate that. So if you filled it back up, okay, it's like, all right, you have more water in here, but it got too, you had to keep it charged and all that other stuff. And so it worked for a little while, but just having those different tools at your disposal, but combine them with compassion to say, okay, here's a different approach I can take, or here's a different way I can reframe the way I look at how last week went. right? Sometimes you need to just, like, laugh at yourself,
Right.
you know? Like, dude, it really is not that serious. Like, if you especially if you're not putting your life in danger or putting somebody else's life in harm, dude, like, get some popcorn and turn it into a comedy show. Like, sometimes now, like, I'll tell stories about some of my anxiety symptoms, like, they were scary back then, but, like, one time, I felt like I was literally floating to the point where I was, like, grabbing stuff to, like, stay on the ground. Like, that's how far gone that
That's
I was.
how.
I can laugh
Yeah.
now, right? It
Yeah. Right.
wasn't funny then because I was
You
just
thought
like,
you was flowing to heaven when you
"I
had
guess this
it.
is my time.
You was like, "Oh shit, is that? Oh, see, I cussed again."
This is the day. It's over."
Right.
Like, I had to learn to laugh at stuff like that. And again, it's not that you make an excuse that, like, have a bad pattern, but every now and then it's like, "You know what? I blew it. Okay, you know what? Let's let's start over and give it another go." But approach it with truth, love, and wisdom. If you can do those things and also have somebody hold you accountable like a therapist or a coach or whatever, man, you're already off to a good start.
Yes, absolutely.
So, as we are coming towards the end, man, that was a quick hour. Good gosh. Man,
Yeah, we're at about 55.
it feels like it was only 30 minutes. I'm like, "Oh, we got some more." So, yeah, definitely one of the folks I'm gonna have come back for, if I don't bring you back for season 4, it'll be again for season 3 here, but I want to do several things, and one of which is say thank you again for being on the show. Secondly, tell the people what is next for you and where they can find you. And thirdly, speak to that person who might be listening or watching this episode who's like on the fence as far as going to therapy or getting the help that they need. What would you say to them?
First. All right. Marcus CJ Lewis. Marcus CJ Lewis everywhere. MarcusCJLewis.com. Marcus CJ Lewis on Instagram. Marcus CJ Lewis. Just type it in. It'll come up. I'll come up somewhere. You'll find me somewhere. So what's next? So now I'm currently doing, different podcast shows. Because I originally had my own, I was co-hosting my own show and
Okay.
that chapter is closed. So now I am just interested in visiting, doing other podcast shows. I'm collaborating with other local mental health advocacy groups locally in DC.
Okay.
I'm doing speaking engagements. I'm also bringing this stuff to my corporate role. So
Nice.
I'm just about everywhere. I got a whole bunch of stuff come down the pipeline. I'm really excited. And I would say, so for somebody looking that's on the fence, I would say be clear about what it is that you're trying to do. So for example, so therapy typically focuses on past and present. It's typically like, okay, this is what's going on in your childhood, is how it impacts you. That's typically the modality that they use. A coach is going to bring you from A to B. It's going to be present to future. And you're going to get like hard tools, like practical tools to go ahead and apply, you know, to get you through the transformation. So I would say like therapy, and honestly, I encourage you to do both. I would say because therapy for me was very foundational, but I plateaued. After a while, I was like, okay, you're not really telling me exactly what it is that I need to do. And I get why they don't. Like I think some of that there's a lot of red tape, and if you come back and you're like, well, you told me to do this.
Liability.
Yeah. So but with a coach, there isn't all that red tape. You just need to find one that actually knows what they're talking about, knows what they're doing, and they have transformation that actually can transform you. Still have therapy. I'm still in therapy and I still have a life coach. So I'm still doing both. Right? Coaches need coaches, doctors need doctors, dentists need therapists. Like we all still need each other. And I would also say invest in yourself. Like this is let me back up. Before you even try to decide if you want to pick between a therapist or a coach or do both, you need to own this experience. No one is going to help you heal like you help you heal. Nobody. It is nobody's responsibility except yours. It's not your mama's, it's not your daddy's, it's not your cousins, not your best friends. It definitely ain't your homeboys. Do not go to your homeboys for therapy. Like, don't do. If you need a sounding board, if you got friends that will check you, like if you out of pocket, that's a good sounding board, but that is not therapy. That is not counsel. It's good to have friends like that, but do not go to them for therapy. You know how many times I've heard that? You got to own the journey. So even when you're in therapy and or getting coached, you still do the work outside of session. If everybody could be healed within an hour a week per session, don't you think everybody would be healed? If it took 4 hours a month to heal, I think the whole world would be like, yeah, let me sign up for therapy and do a transformation.
Yeah.
Change is violent.
Yes.
It is not a walk in the park. So it's on you to own that journey. So before you decide to do anything, you need to take 100% responsibility for your life and for everything that you feel, 100% responsibility for your triggers, and take your power back from these external sources that you've been blaming all of your stuff on, and own it for yourself. Start there, and then you can pick on where you want to go.
Mm.
Oh, say.
Hey, that's a perfect way to end, except we got the quick fire round, lightning
Yeah,
round. Yeah.
let's do it.
So I'm gonna ask you about 10 questions. And again, you take longer than 3 seconds, brother. You think
Is it the clip? Isn't
that
that
deep?
what the young people say? Clip.
Right. Yeah, I can't keep it. I got 4 kids. I still can't keep up with all that little slang. I'm like, all right, tell me what that means so I don't sound stupid
All
if I
right.
I just won't say it at all. I'll let y'all say it. But all right, question one. What is your favorite season? Facebook or Instagram?
Instagram.
Music for healing or music for hype?
Healing.
What's your favorite city you visited?
Tokyo.
Nice. Apple or Android?
Oh.
What's your favorite hype song? Okay. We like the party, but the marching band version. Oh man, that thing just gets me. Yeah.
Flawless.
Flawless.
Yes.
Yeah.
That can be hyped every time.
Yeah. All right. Headphones or car speakers?
Car speakers.
Who is the GOAT?
Me.
You know what? I'll take that one. Huh. You get the flex capacitor for that. All right. What's your favorite movie?
E.T.
All right. Current book you're reading or finished reading?
Title. It's a surrender book by Michael Singer. It's I don't remember the title.
Got you. Got you. Cool. All right. Well, that was the last question for my quick fire round. Again, Mr. Marcus Lewis, thank you for
Thank
being
you.
podcast. Absolute pleasure to have you on. Again, must look to the near future to have you back again to continue this conversation.
Yeah.
My guests or my listeners, thank you for tuning in. You know the slogan, find your recovery path. Till next time, thank you for tuning in and thank you for
Thank you.
You can tell your lies, you can make your plans, watch it all fall apart, watch it drift like sand. You can form the weapon, but it never would.